So we'll record that. And we'll close our day by just reviewing your assignments and discussing your film ideas. Okay. Get that in here. Get you over there. Zoom. That's it. While we wait for Kyle, let's go ahead and discuss your ideas. Let's do that. Kyle should be here in like 15 minutes.
Does it matter which order we go in?
No. Who's that just spoke? Got turn my
Felicia.
Okay, where are you? You're in here somewhere. Oh, I
I
see.
don't know. I don't see me on the on the classroom thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Turn your camera on real quick.
Okay, hold on. Says unable to access camera. Hold on.
Okay.
I
Maybe
don't.
raise your hand.
It hasn't been working all day. I had two other
Hey,
classes. My
no,
camera hasn't been
I got
working.
you.
Oh, okay.
Not you. I think that was Shim Haru. He in here twice. Shim's Haru. I don't know where you are. I hear you, but I don't see you.
He's right next to me. Like I think like left or right of me.
Who is that speaking?
Kingston.
You know what? She might be hidden behind somebody.
Yeah, I might be because I lose. Oh wait, I could be at the top or the middle because it shows like people,
Yeah,
but then
she's where I just was, where you just moved me. Like she's like exactly
oh,
where I
I
was.
see.
She's
I
here
think it's
somewhere.
just like the name it's just the name that's showing up for me.
Oh yeah, if you click on them, if you click on like the people, you could see a name. But I guess I don't have an icon on Zoom.
Oh, raise your hand for me.
Okay, there I
Hi.
am.
Yeah, you ain't got nothing.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll probably fix it after I get off. I didn't realize I don't have anything on Zoom, and my camera doesn't work. So
I see you
I'll
there now. You are there.
yeah.
All right. All right. You're in the building. All right. All right. All right. All right. What was
Hi.
your question?
Oh, I was just gonna start with my story idea.
All right. Let's get it in. Let's get that in.
So I had an idea because
And
we
guys,
were like
if you
sharing
could
our
get in a
ideas.
position to turn on your cameras, if you felt comfortable with that, because when Kyle comes in, he's going to want to put a face with the name. And he's really, oh, I love the cat. He's going to be really good at he's going to be really good at trying to remember people's names. So I love the cat. So if you guys could get in a position where you can turn on all your cameras, and make sure you know your background and stuff are appropriate, and we can kind of work from there. Okay, guys. But go ahead, please. I'm gonna mute myself so you can talk about your idea.
Okay. I haven't really like fully developed it, but it's gonna be about let me pull up my notes because I don't remember exactly what I submitted. But it's going to be about like women in sports. So I came up with this idea because I am a woman in sports, and by the time like we were trying to figure out our story ideas, I think the day like National Women's Sports, it had just passed. So I was like, why not? So it's going to be. Sorry, I'm still trying to find where I put it in my notes. Uh, um, yeah, it's gonna be about like in a nutshell, a girl who doesn't feel like seen, and then like some of the boys who she works with will like take her ideas or like just take credit for certain stuff, and then it's gonna pretty much like she's gonna get advice from somebody a little bit older. Like they're gonna sit down and talk to her or whatever, and then at the end she's gonna like not random but like surprisingly get like employee of the month or whatever. So it's not fully developed, but that's pretty much like the way it's gonna go. You're on mute.
Okay, great. So let me say what I heard. You have a story idea where um you have a young lady who is at work and she doesn't have like she's not in the best personality, but ultimately she ends up getting she doesn't feel like she's achieving the best or whatever, and then she gets like a surprise acknowledgement at her job that she is the employee of the month. Is that what you said? Something like that?
Yeah, kind of like
But she's a
she,
woman in sports.
yeah, like she doesn't really feel recognized, and it's gonna show like how like the boys like take her ideas and stuff like that. But she's still doing like the best that she possibly can, and she doesn't feel seen. And then she gets advice on how to like keep going and stuff, and then she ends up getting employed.
Okay. Because what we're going to do today after Cal finishes, what we're going to do is we will take that story idea, right? We're going to take our story idea, and what we'll do there is we're going to develop that using either a beginning, middle, and end summary process, but then we're
Mm-hmm.
also going to convert that to a script format. But have you thought about the format in which what happens at the beginning, the middle, and the end of your story yet?
A little bit, but not like thoroughly.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to, Derek's trying to read through your assignments now. Did
Okay.
you submit one?
Yeah, I submitted it
Oh, I found
on.
you.
Okay.
I found it. Okay. Your film will be focused on the struggles of a woman in sports media. The main character, Tay, will be a young intern of a university sports media team who does not feel as seen as among her peers. The male interns make some snarky comments and even take credit for some of her work. They does not feel comfortable and until a more seasoned intern, Jayla, gives her advice. Shortly after this motivating conversation, Tay walks into the office. The supervisor with a title Intern of the Month. This project is a mockumentary. Okay, really? You want a mockumentary style as an
Yes.
elementary? Okay. All right, that's interesting. Okay. Okay. Um, yeah, I'm interested to see how you transfer that because it does not seem funny, but I'm definitely sure that you can convert that to the play on the humor in there. I'm sure there's humor somehow you can convert within that. Okay. Um,
Okay.
I don't feel like I found any red flags for now. Okay.
Okay.
Now, one other question I do have for you is when it comes to the roles that people are going to be playing, like what's the roles that you're thinking?
Um, I'm thinking the main character, two co-workers, one athlete, one like older woman, and one supervisor.
Okay. Okay. Are you trying to play any of these roles?
No.
Good. I just wanted to make sure because I know you said some of this had some your experience as a sports person.
Oh yeah. No, no, I experienced it, but like I'm not an actor, so.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. Who has their hand, Lex? Ananda?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, so my story is a situation that's close and dear to my heart because I've dealt with it a lot and I've found that I've done similar things to try to gain this. But it's about an actor crippled with creative block. He
Hmm.
spirals into an outrageous quest for inspiration, convinced that great art must be lived before it can be creative. He throws himself into extreme circumstances like reckless relationships, high stakes gambling, a daring bank robbery, and even abandoning his identity to enlist in the military. Each new life promises the spark he's chasing, but the deeper he descends into chaos, the more he risks losing himself entirely. In the end, he must confront a haunting question. Will he survive long enough to create his masterpiece, or will the search for inspiration destroy him first?
That's good. Now, that's not in your submission. Did you read, you read, did you need to resubmit all that information you just read? Because in the
I
submission, this short, go ahead.
that should be the whole thing. I just uploaded the Google Doc, and that's all I just read.
Okay. Read it again, because I'm looking at, okay, what's the last words you said?
Destroy him first.
Okay, yeah, I see it now. I'm looking at the wrong account. I'm thinking, sorry. All
It's
right,
okay.
I got you. All right, okay, the artist crippled with the creative block. I found you. Spirals into outrageous quest for inspiration. Complicated. Okay. The only one that triggered, popped in my head was this daring bank robbery. How we doing that?
Well, remember we
Yeah.
talked about it a little bit in
Mhm.
class. We could like have maybe a focus on like a corner of a building and somebody with a bag in their hand and they just look like they did something nefarious. Like, we're not going to show
Mhm.
the whole bank, but just show like a robbery.
Okay, yeah, we want to get him out in trouble. And you can allude to it, but one other question is, what genre are you going for?
I'm going for a kind of I don't know what it's called, but like reflect on yourself kind of thing. Like makes people think about their own lives and how far they will push to gain something.
Hmm.
Like
So
a slice of life.
Nanda just confessed to a bank robbery? Is that what?
No, I'm just saying
She said,
like
I was robbing banks when I was 3 years old. Right?
no, I mean, but I think you have to live a lot of life to create good art. I don't think any
Okay.
any art comes from a boring life.
Okay. Art comes from an exciting life. All right. Someone said something though. What did you guys say just now?
I was thinking maybe that genre is like a slice of life, and not really though, because she was talking about the other aspects of living.
Well, the genre is like I'm saying, is it a comedy? Is it a drama? Is it a horror? Is it a thriller? That's what I'm saying, genres.
I would
It
say
sounds like a
it's
thriller.
yeah, it's
Sorry.
giving me
That's what I'm trying
thriller
to figure out
vibes.
what genre, like is a hot comedy, horror, thriller. You say it sounds like a what?
Thriller, not a comedy,
Not
not
a
a
comedy.
horror.
Okay.
Like a thriller, just how far will this person go?
So it's actually intended to feel like we're watching something that is like a true thing, as someone is conflicted with, someone's really experiencing it. Like you believe these characters, like you're in the life of these characters. Like it's intended to make the audience feel like they're like being positioned in an authentic way to do this. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
it's
Okay.
supposed to feel like you're scared for him almost. You're
You
like, oh
scared
my
for
god,
him.
I know we need to create this art, but this is going a little too far.
Okay. Okay. All right. Let's see what happens from there. I'm gonna pull up when Cal comes in and starts speaking. I'm gonna pull up a document that we're going to transfer. We're going to build upon our summary and go to a 3-act structure. Okay. So we'll have to talk about that later on, but I need your summaries to get that started. All right. So everybody have that. So far, I think we can keep going. All right. Who's next? Who wants to speak next?
I could go next.
I think Shims Haru had his name.
Oh,
Did
my
you want to
bad.
speak next, or did you have a question?
Oh, I wanted to speak next.
No, Derek, I got you, Derek. Shim Haru, did you want to speak next? Unmute, buddy. I think I saw you unmuted. You're in there like twice. Okay, you can't unmute. Try to unmute. He might have logged out. Are you still there? Move your hand. Yeah, your audio's gone. It seemed like you were logged in twice somehow. What is your other login? On your phone or something? Yeah, I think that's your phone. Do it, make sure just unmute from your phone and try that. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Go ahead. I'm gonna mute.
How bad is it? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it decent?
It's good. It's good, bro. I got you. I can hear you.
Um, I just pretty much had a question pertaining to the submission, and if I still had time to submit, I didn't think we were going to be in virtual, so I was just going to submit it during class.
All
Is
right.
it too late to submit it?
No, I just extended it. Okay. Type it in
I'm about.
there because I'm looking at your submission now. Type it in there to make sure you submit it. Okay.
All right, I got you.
Oh,
I'm
that
about to
was the
do
only question you had. Okay, cool, cool beans. I go, yeah. They threw me. Now, to be honest, the um to be honest, the virtual was an option today. I could have canceled, but we had so many snow days. It's going to affect us. And so we got too much work to do for me to cancel for the day, but I'm not going to keep you guys the entire day. I just want to focus on getting your scripts shaped, and then Kyle is going to join us and talk about some camera stuff. But then we'll go into next week. Hopefully, we won't be snowed in again. But next week we'll actually get our hands back into the workshop of doing the camera. He wants to deal with focus and stuff like that. Okay, so all right, but yeah, I know the virtual thing is not ideal, but we're gonna do the best we can do. We're gonna make it the best we can. Let me share my screen. Let's see what happens if I share my screen. Because I think I'm looking at a clock over. Let's see if it goes on that bulletin board behind me. I like this new layout that they offering here. Share my screen. So I'm gonna just share one window. I'm gonna share all my windows. Nope. Will be this guy. Yep. Share my audio. That's it. Where did you guys go? Ended on my. Oh, shit. It's been a while since I've been in virtual. So here's Cal. All right, I'm gonna put Cal down here with me. I'm gonna make Cal a co-host. He should go down here with me when I do that. It didn't happen, but let's put him down there, and I'll put myself in the seat. Cal,
Yes, sir.
uh, so I was trying to prepare them for you as they're coming. And can you turn on your cameras? Because I told you that Cal's gonna probably want to get your names and put a face with the name. So he's really good at that. So get your cameras turned on so that you guys can see what we're looking at. Look at it, Leah. My niece. That's my niece. Got the gum in her mouth. All right. All right, guys, turn your cameras on. Make sure you're in a place where you know you're appropriate and all that stuff. So just let Cal speak. Cal, you can introduce yourself. So today, if you could keep your cameras on during this part of the presentation. Felicia, you don't have a camera, right? What's going on with your situation?
No, my camera it doesn't work.
Okay,
I
your
could,
camera's not working. Okay, that's
yeah, it
fine.
says unable to access camera.
Okay, so Kyle, if you see there's just one person in the top there, I'll just put them in a little classroom. So you, so today what we're going to be doing is we were reviewing our stories, but today Kyle was made time. He was going to be talking to us about camera stuff, but I wanted to make sure I give him a platform that we're going to introduce. We're going to be pulling on him in a couple ways, but we initially had this set up to do in the classroom, but we're going to get at least an introduction virtually. So be prepared to come into the physical space next week because he brings in a camera and he allows you to see how to deal with f-stops and ISO, etc. Felicia, do you have a question? Or your hand is up? Felicia, put your hand down.
No, my bad, my bad.
All right, I'm gonna be quiet. Kyle, you got the floor, my friend.
All right, how long you want me to go for?
Honestly, brother, you talk as much as you want, and you got the co-host. So if you want to share your screen, you can do that. I know
Mhm.
your large part of your presentation is physically in the space. So you got the floor as long as you want, because once you finish, all I'm gonna do is go over their story ideas, and then I'm gonna transfer them over to teach them how to transfer them over to like a 3-act structure. But I want you to be able to kind of get them started on how to frame things up with the camera. So you got as much time as you feel comfortable doing it in this space. Because I think if you got time, I want you to come in next week to be able to
Yeah.
use that screen like you normally do. All right.
All right, cool. All right, everyone. My name is Kyle Yearwood. I'm a visual artist, creator, storyteller. I graduated from Morgan State and I've been working there ever since. I actually teach as an animation adjunct now. And yeah, I want to show you guys, introduce you guys how to operate cameras. But before you ever touch a camera, you have to understand settings, okay? That's the biggest thing that deters people from picking up a camera and shooting is they don't know what the buttons do or what they're supposed to do. So, who here knows how to shoot already? Okay. How do you pronounce your name? Ananda? Is that how you?
Ananda.
Ananda. Where have you shot before? Where have you been shooting?
So last year I worked as a videography and photography counselor at a
Mm.
summer intensive in Maine. So I taught little girls how to film.
Oh wow.
And
Okay.
yeah, so
Okay. Cool. Okay. So this should be rudimentary for you. Derek, what have you been shooting?
Uh, last year I was in a workshop with David Talbert, and I also shoot on the side for photography.
Okay. Cool. Who else already shoots? Does anyone else? Justin?
Prior to transferring to Morgan almost 2 years ago, I used to teach middle school students in New York television and film. So I was a film teacher before I came here.
Oh wow. Okay, we got two teachers here. All right, cool. So this should be really easy for you guys. Um, I'm just gonna give you the easy to remember principles so that no matter what camera you're picking up or what environment you're shooting in, you're gonna know how to get the proper shot. Okay. Um, so where can we start? Where can we start? Let's start with frame rate. Somebody raise their hand. Who can tell me what frame rate is? Go ahead, Derek.
Isn't frame rate like how much you can catch per second? Like if you have a high frame rate, you can catch something moving very fast. If it's very low, it's gonna look choppy.
Okay. Yep. Anyone else? Frame rate? All right, cool. All right, guys. So I need you to take notes, try to memorize this. Because once you get these core principles down, you'll be able to shoot with any camera in any environment. So we got to get the simple stuff down first. All right, cool. So Dave, I think I might want to not be show my background. Um, let me see.
Let me see. You say you want to show your background?
Yeah,
I
I
can.
got like a little whiteboard behind me.
Okay.
Isn't
What
there a
about
whiteboard on Zoom?
yeah, what about let me see. I may take us out of this room. Let me see if I can get
Oh,
out of
yeah,
the
you had to take us out of the room. Okay.
I don't know how, honestly, I don't even know how I got us in the room. I was just playing around with some buttons and I put us in the room. I was like, oh, we're in the room now. So I don't
Okay.
know if how to get us out this room. So I just been making it work. So let me see if I can get you but what I can do is I did share my screen. And so maybe this is it. Here it is. Maybe this is it right here. Try that. See if that works.
Hmm.
You know what I did? I know what I did. There you go. There you go, Kyle.
All right, cool. All right.
I'm gonna mute
And I
you.
could cool, and I could still see everybody. So give me 1 second. I'm gonna change my view here. All right. All right. Can y'all see the board behind me?
Yes.
All right, cool.
Yes.
Sorry, I got some old stuff on here, but first thing I want you guys to understand thoroughly is frame rate. All right, cool. So Dirk gave us a short answer to it. So your frame rate is your frames per second, okay? Frame rate is your frames per second, or FPS, okay? Frames per second. So you guys ever see a scrapbook? Not a scrapbook, a flip book, where you have a little booklet and you draw something on each page, and when you flip through it, it creates an animation or a little video.
Yes.
Like stop motion.
Stop motion, right. So your frame rate in that example would be how many pages do we flip per second? Okay. And depending on how many pages we flip through in that time period, that's going to create the look and feel of our motion in our video or our animation, right? So frame rate is the first thing I want you guys to memorize to understand, because frame rate is the first thing that you want to decide when you pick up your camera. First thing you do when you shoot, first thing you want to do is ask yourself, what frame rate am I going to use to shoot? Okay? Who can give me an example of different frame rates that we use while shooting? Raise your hand. Uh,
There's like, oh, my fault.
Go ahead.
There's a slow motion. You could do like a slow motion view on the camera. Uh,
Okay.
I think there's one like a blurry view, like if someone comes through, kind of has like a wobbly sort of effect. That'll be kind of a different frame rate.
Mhm.
The normal aspect, just what I'm saying, people just talking or walking, like where it looks like same where it's like an eye view point of view,
Mhm.
and
Awesome.
then I think like maybe fast, what I'm saying, people going like see like someone zooming down a highway, get like someone of like cars going behind you, but the guy still stays in the same frame.
Mhm. Okay,
That's
cool.
all I'm thinking about. That's all.
Okay. Olatunji, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Movie, arm like movie shot in like 24 frames a second.
Yep. Mhm. Yep. Anybody else?
I put it in a chat, 24, 60, like
Mhm.
those.
Yep. Okay, cool. So, how many of you guys have an iPhone? All right, cool. This might be for Android as well. I'm just not familiar. Um, so when you go to shoot video on your iPhone, at the top right, I believe, it gives you different frame rates that you can use. And who can tell me what the frame rates that iPhone allows you to shoot with? You guys know on your phone?
24, 30, 60.
All right, cool. 24, 30, and 60. All right, cool. A little bit. Okay. So typical frame rates that we use when we're shooting is 24, 30, and 60. Okay. So when you pick up your camera, you have to ask yourself, am I going to shoot this video in 24? Am I going to shoot in 30? Or am I going to shoot in 60? And the reason why you have to decide that is because these three different frame rates create a different look and feel. Okay. So if I am shooting a feature film that's going to be in theaters, what which of these frame rates might I use? Who knows?
Would you not use?
24.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Why?
isn't that the smoothest one?
Mhm. So 24 is going to be cinematic. Okay. 24 frames per second is going to give you the most cinematic look and feel. So most of the movies that you're watching are shot in 24. And why would we shoot in 30? What's the case scenario for shooting in 30 frames per second? So if 24 is
Reality TV or live shooting.
exactly, who said that?
Me.
I don't know why I can't see. Is that Leah?
Oh, it's a Leah page. Yeah.
Oh, okay. My bad. I couldn't see your mouth. My bad. All right, cool. All right, so 30 is gonna be more so closer to what your natural eye sees. It looks more like reality, right? So most reality TV shows are going to be 30. Most of what you see on social media, um, why if I'm doing like I'm here at MRI Studios downtown and we do a lot of events, right? Why would I shoot and edit an event recap video in 30 versus 24? Who can explain why I was shooting 30 and not 24
If
for an
it's a
event?
recap, isn't it going to be more fast paced?
Yeah,
So you're going to
it's
have to add more edits throughout, or
yeah.
just frames
Any
throughout.
anybody else? Why would 30 be a good choice in terms of a frame rate for an event recap video?
It's more like live TV, like sports
Yeah,
almost.
yeah, exactly. So if I'm doing an
So
event recap, I'm trying to show people that weren't there that, hey, this was a real life event that was going on. Here's what was happening, right? So we want it to look real. So I could shoot in 24 and that'll be just fine as well. It'll just be more cinematic. But if I shoot in 30, it's going to look like, okay, this was a real life event that I should have been at. So that's like a use case scenario. So typically, when I do social media, if I know it's only going on social media and it's supposed to reflect like real life events, I typically shoot in 30. Now, you might also shoot documentaries in 30. Why would we shoot a documentary in 30?
Looks more realistic, like more
Mhm.
real, like you're there.
Exactly, exactly. Cool. So, yeah. All right, who could tell me why we would shoot 60?
Sports?
Well, but yeah, for like an action sequence.
Sports, action sequence. Anybody else? Cool. So why is 60 frames per second great for sports?
It can capture more fast-paced action.
Yep, it'll capture more fast-paced action. Yep. Okay. So just to dive deeper into that, if I am watching LeBron and the Lakers, do I want to see do I want it to look like I'm watching a movie or do I want it to look like I'm there in the stands? The latter, right?
Hmm.
So 60 is going to capture more movement and it's hyper real. Okay. Um, Dave, can you tell me, since you have done a lot of TV work as well as client work, um, what frame rates are you typically doing when you do TV versus when you're doing like a documentary or a film?
That's a great question. And it's funny because I like your analogy of the sports. I never thought about that with the Lakers. Like, do you want to see it like you're really going every motion? And you guys are giving great answers. My answer for that is exactly what you've been doing. So when I shoot
Mhm.
television shows, though, I normally shoot my shows in 30 frames unless specially asked for a 60 frame. I don't shoot
Mhm.
my TV shows in 24 frames unless
Mhm.
they ask for it. A TV show, reality stuff always goes in 30 frames. Another trick for 60 frames, and folks who do 24 frames per second, you could use a 60 frame clip, right? And then slow it down 50%, and then that gives you smooth butter slow motion. You'll hear that it's no drop frames. So in a 24 frame film, 60 frames will be great for an effect to get slow motion. But
Mhm.
typically for 60 frames, The only way I would see is six. Only place I see a lot of 60 frames in social media posts. Like
Hmm.
for example, I see like these like reality show moms and like a lot of the kids do these like you know my daughter watched this thing where they like it's like a family YouTube family, right? They'll shoot it in this almost animated clear 60 frames. They do that primarily because it's the most vibrant space. I have not been in that space to film it, but I can actually see, oh, it's shot in 60 frames. And I see why they would do that because it makes it more vibrant. Like that's the colors that they want to go for. You can do that in 60 frames. But I hope I answered your question. But for me, the 30 frames is be where I do television. 24 is when I'm doing cinematic stuff.
All right. Go ahead, Jamad. Jamad, is that how you pronounce it?
Jamal, Jamad, it doesn't matter. But
Jamad.
I
I love
had
them both.
yeah. Um, so I
And just to make sure you
know
guys know this,
that
just want to jump
different
inside Jamad.
mediums that
Jamal, just so that you know this, so that Cal knows your preferred pronouns, guys. Jamal prefers they, them. Just want to let you know that, Cal.
period. Anyway, thank you, Roberts. Anyway, I know different mediums use different frame per second. Like I know specifically like in video games, they use a lot of 60 FPS for like cutscenes and things of that nature. So uh would that like for animation, do we see us you're on mute by the way, Roberts. I don't know if you know that, but I was to continue my question, I was asking like when we switch from live action or step in what or how many frames we really use per second or what we did in, I should say.
Ask you a question once more time.
So I know different mediums use different frame rates, but like video games and animation, for example, my question was, at what point, like what frame rates do they use like consistently? What's the industry standard?
Yeah, it depends. It depends on how you want it to look and feel. If you want it to look cinematic, if you want it to look like a movie, you're gonna do 24. If you want it to look like reality, if you want it to look like real life, like this is happening right now in the moment, you're gonna choose 30. If you want it to capture high speed, if you want to see every bit of motion, if you want it to look like hyper real, then you're gonna shoot 60 and above. So for video games, most likely it's going to be 60 because you're probably doing a racing car game or it's going to be a lot of action. So when you think of action, think of high frame rate, like 60 and above. Um,
That's a
yeah,
great question. It's funny, I never thought about that, but I never thought about that. And Cal is absolutely right. I just pulled it up. And Jamal, that's a great question. I appreciate that question. And it made me look it up, and I found out that video games generally run at the frame rate of 30 to 120. They even go higher for the fast refresh rate, but with a 60 frame per second cancellation consideration as the standard smooth. So they do a 60 frame but I will look into that, Jamal. That was a great question, especially with what we were doing, okay? Thank you for that question.
thank you. All right, so that's it. Let's not overcomplicate frame rate. It's just the first thing that you need to choose and understand, okay? But don't overcomplicate it. Just know what you're shooting and why, and then that's going to be the first thing you decide. Especially like Dave, Dave does a lot of client work and film work, and he'll hire students to assist him. And if he puts you on a camera, that should be the first thing in your head. I need to make sure that I'm shooting at the same frame rate as everybody else. If we're shooting an event and there's 5 cameras, what would be the issue if one of the cameras is shooting 60 and everybody else is shooting 24?
It won't match up.
It won't
And
match
also,
up.
if you try to slow it down, it may look different.
Yep, exactly. Dave, have you give us an example of experiences where you messed up or a student messed up and shot something in the wrong frame rate.
That happened. That's a great question, and I think Felicia answered it. One
Mm.
camera was shooting at a faster frame rate, and then what basically happens is the audio gradually loses sync, and that is a nightmare. But thank God I had some editing experience. I just basically had to change the frame rate multiple times until I found the right one. But that's a headache that you do not want to deal with. But that's a great scenario. But I gotta say that was something that I did. I think I had set one camera wrong. But for these assignments, everyone is going to be shooting with a DSLR or some sort. And so most people, I think I'm gearing them towards a cinematic look, unless, for example, I think Felicia, was that your idea where you want to kind of mark up the Abbott Elementary?
Yeah.
All right, so with the themes behind it, once you're understanding these frame rates, then you start to think about the matching up. So in this particular case, your film will probably be shot at 30 because Abbott is shot at 30. You get what I'm saying? It's designed to look like a mockumentary. So when you
Yeah.
want that style, you want to match up your frame rates. So connecting, my suggestion is for this class, guys, listen to the frame rate, but understand if you're going for cinematic, reality, or whatever you want to go for, then you can determine what frame rate you go in.
All right, perfect. All right, so couple more things with frame rate and then we can move on. So for those of you that have an iPhone,
Sorry, guys. I hope you guys are taking physical notes because last semester, I don't know if you understand this. When Kyle comes back, he's going to piggyback off where he left off, and I actually do a test on what he's talking about. So please be taking notes. This is recorded, by the way, but please take your notes.
all right, cool. So for those of you that have an iPhone or Android, when you are taking a video, you go to the video on your iPhone and you change it to the slow-mo mode. What is the frame rate at the top right that is giving you?
120.
120. Okay. So that's a totally different frame rate. So we have 24, we have 30, we have 60, and then now we have 120. And obviously 120 is going to be used for what? What's the purpose?
Is it for slow motion?
Slow motion, right? So those faster frame rates are specifically used for slow motion. So if you're shooting at 120, what the camera is doing is shooting at 120 frames per second and it's playing it back at a slower frame rate. And that's what creates slow motion. So you can create slow motion starting at 60, right? Or 50. Some cameras at 50. So if I shoot a video at 60 frames per second and then I slow it down to 24 frames per second, that's going to create slow motion. If I shoot a video at 120 frames per second and then I slow it down to 24 frames per second or 30 frames per second, that's going to create slow motion. And then there's even faster frame rates. So you have 240, you have 1,000. So the faster the frame rate, the slower the motion is going to be. And unless it's like a video game, most likely those faster frame rates are only going to be for slow motion. So let me share my screen real quick and we could just look at a quick example.
And one trick that I've discovered, guys, in using a faster frame rate is actually on Cal's image, is that sometimes if you're doing a sports event, right, and you are running a single camera, it's good to shoot at a faster frame rate, like a tennis match, right? And so what it makes it easier for you to do is to pull single frames. If you ain't got but one camera and say, oh, I need to take a still image from it. With a faster frame rate, you got more of a clear, specific image that you can pull from versus a blurry image.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool. So let's just check out this example. In this video, it's showing you 24 frames versus 60 versus 120 versus 240.
So we're going to get right into playing some tennis and show you the difference of the frame rates to see which one you like best. So we're going to get right into playing some tennis and show you the difference of the frame rates to see which one you like best.
All right, cool. So does that make sense for everybody? The different frame rates and the use cases?
Yes.
Cool. And really quickly, I just wanted to show you one example of an even faster frame rate, which would be who here watches NBA basketball?
A
Okay,
little
so a
bit.
little bit. You guys ever see the highlight recap, the highlight Phantom Cam? So the NBA Phantom Cam is a slow motion camera, high quality camera that they use to show specific highlights. So let me pull up an example. Hold on.
I have been a physician for 35 years, and sadly, I've had a front seat to witness the
Let me show a different example. Hold on. Let me see. Thought I had. Okay, cool. This is.
The Phantom Cam is like 1,000 frames per second, right? Or something like that.
What was your question?
The Phantom Cam is like 1,000 or some frames per second, right?
Yep. I believe it's anywhere from 1,000 to 2,500. But I believe it's 1,000. So yeah, so that's a good example of super high speed super fast frame rate for slow motion. All right, cool. So that's frame rate. Once you understand frame rate, you choose your frame rate. Now we have to move into what's called exposure. Okay, I'm gonna erase this.
One question that you might find on my test would be, what are three basic frame rates? One. The second question I may ask is, what is the different frame rates do? Or what could you can expect from different frame rates? Something like that.
Cool. All right, so we got our frame rate down. Now we need to know and understand exposure. Okay. Yeah, exposure. Who could tell me what exposure means? What does the word exposure mean? Ananda?
The exposure to a light.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yep. Okay. Anybody else?
Like I know what it means to lower your exposure, like when it's really, really dark, you can only see like the shadows and the lines.
Okay. Anybody
How
else?
much light you let in?
How much light you let in? Perfect.
Overall light.
Thank you, Aaliyah. You be paying attention. So good. Aaliyah was in a different workshop that I did before, and she remembers everything. So that's good. All right, cool. So exposure, right?
Hey,
So
can you
Aaliyah
hear me?
said, mhm.
I was gonna say the amount of light you let into the lens.
Okay, perfect. Yes, exactly. That's exactly it. Exposure is the amount of light that you let into your camera sensor overall. So to simply put it, I say exposure is the overall lighting of your shot, not to overcomplicate it. Okay. Exposure is the overall lighting of your shot. Okay. So, Kingston, if I give you a camera and I say, go take pictures of this event, and I'm looking at one of the photos and I say, this shot you took is underexposed. What am I saying?
If it's underexposed, it would be there's not enough light.
Yep, that means it's too dark.
Okay.
Justin, if I send you on an assignment and you're shooting video outdoors 12 p.m. and you show me some footage and I say these shots are overexposed, what am I saying?
Too much light was let in.
Too much light, right? It's too bright. Okay, perfect. So the goal every time you pick up your camera is to get the properly exposed shot. Okay, so that's the difference between a good shot and a bad shot. Is it properly exposed or not? Okay, very simple. And there are three settings that you have to balance to create the proper exposure. Okay? So this is where it gets professional. This is the difference between an amateur and a professional. So who have I checked out a camera to before? Derek, I checked out a camera to you before, right?
Yeah,
All right, a DSLR, right?
yeah.
So what mode did I tell you to shoot in? Yeah, I'll give you a hint. It's a M,
It's an M.
the letter M. What mode is that?
Um, movie mode. I don't remember.
Not movie mode. Anyone know what I'm talking about? So on a
Manual.
DSLR, there's a mode called M,
Manual.
manual. Okay, perfect. So that's the difference between an amateur and a professional. If you're a professional, you're going to shoot in manual so that you can control your exposure and not let the camera control it for you. Okay? So typically if you're just shooting a video off of your phone, your iPhone, the phone is doing all of the work for you in terms of getting the proper exposure. But sometimes the camera doesn't do it the best. It's not giving us the most optimal settings. So for example, let's see. Can you guys see your professor? You see his video and somebody critique the exposure, the overall lighting of his camera right now.
He looks very bright and
Yeah,
almost
he's very white.
washed out a little bit.
Right. So it's not properly exposed, right? So we have to change the lighting in order to get a proper exposure. So what he's doing is now what's up with his forehead? What it he changed the lighting a little bit. What's going on with his forehead now?
Just shining more.
Not shining more. I think he closed it a little bit.
Oh, shining less. Yeah.
Yep. So before he made that change, was he underexposed or overexposed? Overexposed, right? So that's what we call getting the proper exposure. You have to change the settings on your camera or change the lighting in your environment. I think you might have closed the curtain or something. You have to change the lighting in order to get the proper exposure. Now, the dangers of not getting the proper exposure, one being that, okay, your shot is not going to be the best and your settings are probably not optimal. If we would have used the shot where his forehead was way too bright, why would that be an issue when we're editing and we're trying to fix it? Does anyone know? Why is having a too bright part of our shot a bad thing?
You won't be able to see all the actions, all the scenes.
Well, it's a word I'm looking for. We lose what in the highlights?
Um, the details.
Detail. Exactly. So if a part of your shot is way too bright, we lose detail. And when you go to edit it and you try to fix it, there's not any detail in that area to bring back. So that's why you want to get the proper exposure. And oftentimes, go ahead, Ananda.
Oh, I just thought of like a real world example that happened when I first did my first movie with Roberts. I had a black and white filter on, and one of my actors was very, very, very light skinned, and I didn't realize that you need to like do her lighting in a different way, you know, and it kind of ruined it in a little way.
Exactly. So that's the perfect example. So I really wanted to use that example because this is going to help you start to understand proper exposure when you're shooting. So that's your first tip. You don't want your highlights to be blown out. That's the term, that's the phrase. Your highlights are blown out, which means that you lose detail in your highlights. And that's a problem because when you're editing, you're trying to fix it, you're trying to color correct it, you don't have any detail to work with. So never always think about that when you're shooting, especially outdoors with the sun. I'd rather you have a too dark of a shot, an underexposed shot, than an overexposed shot where you have no detail in the sky. So a lot of people have trouble with that when they're shooting outdoors. They don't know how to approach the sun in the sky. They don't know if they want their sun, or they don't know if they want the sky to be overexposed or underexposed. But typically, you can bring back details from the shadows more than you could your highlights. Okay? So, example, I'm just looking at your cameras. How do you pronounce your name? Is that Shims?
Can you hear me?
Yep. How do you pronounce your name?
So all of the letters that you see is just how you would say it. It's Shimseru.
Shimziru.
Yeah.
All right. So looking at your camera and looking at your hair, right? Looking at your you have locks. So would you say your locks are in the highlights or in the shadows or in the neutral?
I think you're in the neutral. Well, it kind of seems like they're in the shadows right now.
Shadows, right? They're really dark. I can't really see the different twists and patterns in your locks. So that's the shadows. And like the example when we were using with Dave, his forehead was a highlight, right? Now let's look at Kingston, right? Would you say Shem Zero? Would you say that his locks are in the shadows, the highlights, or the neutral?
I would have to go to them. Give me a sec.
Say something, Kingston.
They're in the neutral. Or I would. It would. It would. It looks like they're the highlights. I can really see what's going on with this there.
Yeah, I would say that they're neutral. We see every detail, but it's not like a bright spot.
Right.
So that's the difference. Is the difference is in the details. Shadows, you're not going to really see too much detail. Highlights are going to be super bright, spark bright spots in your footage, and then the midtones is going to be where you're going to see most of your detail. And getting your proper exposure is balancing out those shadows, those highlights, and those midtones. Does everyone understand that?
Could you repeat that one more time? I just gotta like put it on my notes again.
Okay, so getting the proper exposure is balancing out your shadows, your highlights, and your midtones. Um, who can tell me what contrast is? Derek, you know? Hmm.
Yeah, the contrast between um like having something white next to something dark so
Perfect.
that it can focus
Mhm.
on what's white.
Perfect. Right? So the more contrast you add when you're editing, you're color correcting your footage, the darker your shadows are going to be and the brighter your highlights. So I would say Derek's camera right now is very contrasty. The shadows in his hair are really dark, and on his hoodie is very dark. And the highlights are not super bright, but they're definitely way brighter than the shadows. Kingston, I would say he's lacking contrast. All of the detail is in the midtones, right? It's like washed out. It's kind of gray, right? You guys can see that. Ananda, I would say you're slightly contrasted because you have a nice highlight on your forehead and your shadows aren't super dark, but they're pretty good. Go ahead, Jamal.
So I'm on my phone. Is there like any way I can like see anybody else's screen than the person who's talking? Because I don't see anybody who you're referring to
Oh,
on my phone.
okay. Oh,
I think
my bad.
if you scroll to the
Swipe
if you just scroll to
to the
the
right
left, you'll
or left
see oh right? Yeah, you'll be able to
or the right.
see like
Thanks.
a array of people.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't know you couldn't see. So yeah, so I was saying that Kingston's camera is not really contrasty. All of the details are in the midtones, right? I can see the detail in his hair, I can see the detail in his shirt. So his highlights are not bright, his shadows are not bright. Now Derek, if you look at Derek's camera, his hair is really dark, his hoodie is really dark. So it's super contrasty, right? And then Ananda, I would say that that's a pretty good shot. She has some bright highlights. She has some shadows on her shirt. I would say that's a pretty good shot. So you want to balance out your shadows, your highlights, and your midtones, right? To get the proper exposure. Okay. All right. So does everyone understand before we move on? Any questions before we move on?
No.
All right.
Can you
Here's
say that one more time? The
okay.
highlights, the midpoints, and that sentence.
Okay. So getting the proper exposure is balancing the shadows, the highlights, and the midtones. Go ahead, Jamad.
So I remember when I was first learning how to shoot on a camera, they would teach us the white balance. Is that how you get the contrast on the camera? Like in your
What
shot?
we'll come back to white balance, but white balance is the color temperature. So it's not necessarily contrast, it's color temperature. So really quickly, if you're look at your the people swipe to the left or whatever. So the color temperature difference. So I would say Shim the color temperature in that shot is cool. It's slightly blue, right? If I look at maybe Kingston, it's more yellow. It's hinting towards yellow green. So white balance is going to be your color temperature, and that's important too. I was just skipping over it because I think we can come back to that. A lot of times the camera does a good job of setting white balance for you. That's the only thing that I might allow the camera to do for me is, you know, doing an automatic white balance setting. Now, if you're shooting with multiple cameras, you want to have the same white balance on each camera. So if you're working with Dave and you're doing if you're doing a 5 camera setup for an event, he'll most likely say, "Hey, set your white balance to this number." And then that way all white balances are the same. But if I am shooting a festival outside and I'm shooting people dancing, I'm shooting food, I'm shooting the performer, I'm moving the camera all over the place, right? Now, if I had to set the white balance for every single shot, that's going to slow me down. So in that case, I'm going to allow the camera to do an automatic white balance setting and choose the color temperature for me. So yeah, so we'll dive a little bit more into color temperature. Just for right now, just understand that white balance is the color temperature.
And just to recap, is neutral and midtones the same thing?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Just making sure. And that's what is that? What's the definition of that one? Sorry. It's just like the middle between highlight and shadow, kind of like.
Yeah, it's the gray, but it's the gray between white and black. So if black represents your shadows, black, dark, shadow, midtone, neutral, gray, white, highlight, um, white, highlight, I forgot what I was about to say.
Shadow.
Huh?
I think you was thinking shadows. You said whites, darks, the shadow area, the
Yeah.
highlights. And I posted
Oh,
the
right.
quiz, guys.
Mhm. Oh, yeah. So I was saying, okay, think of shadows as being dark or being black. Think of your midtones as being gray and medium. And think of your highlights as being white or bright.
Got you. Thank you.
All right, cool. and
It's good to see you, Kingston.
and
Good to see you too, man.
understanding that is going to help you guys in post production when you get there. Understanding shadows, highlights, and midtones is going to help you when you start color grading and color correcting. Whether you're doing photography or whether you're doing video, that's going to really help you in terms of getting the shot that you want to getting the shot how you want it to be. Sometimes you might add color to your shadows. You might add color to your highlights. You might darken your shadows. You might brighten your highlights and add more contrast. So just understanding that is going to help you later. Okay. But now that's post production. But now we need to get the proper exposure in the camera using 3 different settings. So this is what we call our exposure triangle. So exposure is the overall lighting in your shot. And there's going to be 3 different settings, 3 different points that we have to balance in order to get the proper exposure. Who can give me one exposure setting on the camera? You're shooting in manual mode, and there's 3 settings.
ISO.
ISO
Aperture.
in the aperture.
And Kelvin? Or is it no, that's white balance.
ISO aperture. What's the last one?
I said Kelvin, but I don't think that's right.
No,
Is
that's color temperature.
Yeah.
it frame rate?
No, the frame rate is the first thing that we.
Shutter speed.
Yeah, that's the one.
A lot of people confuse frame rate for shutter speed, but we know what frame rate is now. Frame rate is frames per second, and we choose that before we get to our exposure. Our frame rate is going to decide how our footage looks and feel. We have a specific intention when we choose what frame rate we want to use. Now, once we get into exposure, now we're trying to get the properly exposed shot. The difference between a good shot and a bad shot is if it's properly exposed or not. And in order to get the proper exposure, there's three settings that we have to balance. We have to balance our aperture, we have to balance our ISO, and our shutter speed. Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit more complicated. But once you understand these three settings in tandem, you'll be able to pick up any camera, whether that's a Sony FX3, whether that's a Canon DSLR or a Red RE camera. No matter what camera you pick up, you'll be able to understand how to get the proper exposure and get it to look good. Okay, so this is really important. Take notes, memorize, pay attention, and then once you get this down, you'll be set. Okay. All right. So first thing we need to understand, let's just say, let's hop into aperture. Okay. Who can tell me what aperture is?
Depth of field.
Okay. Depth of field. Okay. Anybody else? Someone explain what aperture is. Look up the definition of camera aperture and read it to me.
It's the eye of the lens. And open it, the more you open it and the more you close it, depends on what's in focus in the shot.
Yep. Okay. Perfect. Anybody else? Who can read me the definition from Google? The camera aperture.
I got it.
Mhm.
Aperture is the adjustable opening within a camera lens, regulated by diaphragm blades that controls the amount of light reaching the image.
Okay. All right. Pretty complicated, but Aaliyah gave us a shortened nickname. So my nickname for aperture is the eye of the lens. So when we're talking about aperture, we're talking about lighting because it's a part of our exposure triangle, but we're talking about the lens specifically. So this is not the camera, this is the lens that we're talking about right now. Okay, so on the lens, there's a hole, right? In the same way, the reason why I call it eye of the lens is it operates in the same way. So, Olatunji, which would bring in more light? Where my eye is squinting or my eye is wide open?
I think the wide open.
Wide open, right?
Yeah.
And, Dave's putting the example on the screen. So what he's showing right now is different aperture settings. And my eye being wide open is going to be that one that the arrow is on now, f1.4. My eye squinting closed down would be represented by the larger f-stop, f22, for example. The more open your eye is, the more light you're going to be able to bring into your shot. The more squinted your eye is, or more closed your eye is, the darker your shot is going to be. Okay? So if your shot is too dark, it's underexposed, one thing that you can do is open your aperture, open your eye. Okay? If your shot is overexposed, too bright, you can close your eye. Okay? And just to show you again from here. So this is my eye wide open, right? In aperture, the aperture setting is measured in something called f-stops, right? So f-stops is just simple. It's just going to be the letter F and then the number. So the smaller the number, the more open your eye is going to be, the more bigger the hole is going to be. the more lighting is going to come in to your camera sensor, right? So a wide open aperture or would be like f1.2, f1.4, f1.8, f2. Those apertures bring in the most light. Now an aperture of, let's say, f12. Okay? So make it a little bit smaller. So f12, my eye is squinting, right? The eye of the lens is closed for the most part. This aperture, for example, f12, is not going to bring in that much light, right? Does that make sense to everybody? If your shot is overexposed, it's too bright, close your aperture, close your eye to make it darker. If it's not enough light, open your eye, open up your aperture, make that f-stop smaller. Okay? Does that make sense for everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, cool. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't let f-stops confuse you. Don't let the numbers confuse you. Just think of it like your eye. If you're in a room and it's too dark, hey, I gotta open my eye more. I gotta open up my aperture. If you're outside broad daylight, I gotta close my eye. I gotta close down my aperture some. And the smaller the number, the more open your eye is. The bigger the number, the more closed your eye is.
And the way you like to say it is, um, the aperture is like the wide open of your eye. Is that what you said? Can you say that again? Your way of.
Yep. Yep. So a wide open aperture, for example, f1.4, is like your eye being wide open. And the example is which brings in more light? My eye being all the way wide open or my eye squinting, which would be represented by something like f8, f16, f22. Go ahead, Ananda.
I was even thinking about it like when you're at the eye doctor, when they flash the light in your eyes and your pupils dilate when it's too close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Exactly.
technology is nature for.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So if something is if something is too bright, like a light flashing in your face, your pupils are gonna get smaller to make it darker. If there's not enough light, if you're in a dark room, your pupils are gonna get more open to bring in more light. So that's why I call aperture the eye of the lens. Okay? All right, cool. So, Felicia, I believe, um, when I asked what aperture is, she said depth of field. So here's what you guys need to remember, right? Each exposure setting. Kingston, what are the three exposure settings?
Uh, I'm not sure. Is it highlights, shadows, and midtones?
Oh, no, no, no.
No,
You got to pay attention. You got to pay attention.
got you.
Oh,
Think of the triangle he mentioned.
Oh, oh, aperture. It's aperture, exposure, and FPS.
nah. Somebody help him out.
ISO.
Yeah, so
Okay, aperture, ISO, and shutter speed. Okay.
yeah,
All right. So that's your exposure
aperture,
triangle.
ISO, shutter speed.
It's okay. This is where we kind of have to memorize. Okay. Take notes, but also memorize. Okay. And the reason why you have to memorize this is take notes so that you can study later, but memorize so that you can use it for life. Because every time you pick up your camera, you're going to have to understand these things on the fly.
Amen.
An example of that would be wedding, shooting a wedding, right? If I am a wedding photographer and let's say I'm capturing the bride dancing with her father, right? And let's say that they're laughing, and I'm trying to capture a perfect shot of them smiling at each other, looking into each other's eyes. It's a perfect moment, right? How much time do I have to get the proper exposure of that shot? Do I have 5 minutes?
They gotta be almost instantaneously.
Yeah, you gotta be on the fly.
Instantaneously, right? So that's why your exposure triangle, you have to memorize it and get it down pat. Because you might only have 1 second to get the proper exposure. Okay? So this is very important. This is why your professor brings me in to do this workshop. Because once you get this down pat, you'll be set. Okay? And you don't have to be afraid of any camera that you pick up. All right, so getting back to aperture. Aperture is the eye of the lens. We open it up in order to bring in more light. We close it down to make our shot darker. An example of a wide open aperture would be something like f1.2, f1.4, f1.8, f2. A closed down aperture might be something like f8, f12, f14, f22. The smaller the number, the more open your eye is, the more light you're going to bring into your shot. The bigger the number, the more closed your eye is, the less light you're going to bring in. Okay, so when you're choosing your aperture setting, think about how much light do I need to bring in? Is my shot too bright right now or is it too dark? And that'll help you decide what your aperture is. Now, what Felicia was saying was aperture also affects your depth of field. So every exposure setting, aperture, ISO, shutter speed, it affects two things. All three settings affect your lighting. All three settings affect your exposure. That's why it's called the exposure triangle, right? And what is exposure? Shimziru, what does exposure mean?
The amount of light that comes into your lens.
Yep, it's the overall lighting of your shot. Not just your
Yeah,
lens. I would just say your shot.
yeah. I was about to say what you said
Mhm.
because I made a quote of it.
Yep, yep. So the aperture is how much light comes in through the lens, but exposure is the overall lighting of your lens and your camera. Okay? So each of those settings affects two things. Exposure affects how much light comes in through the lens, and it also affects depth of field. Now, Felicia, can you define depth of field?
It's like when one thing is in focus or not. So I'm pretty sure when it's um, a higher aperture, it's more focused on one thing, and then when it's lower, it has less of a focus on
Okay.
anything. If that makes sense.
Yeah, perfect. So depth of field, to put it simply, is how much is in focus. Okay? How much is in focus? So if you look at my camera right now, how much is in focus? How much detail is in focus? Somebody say something.
The
Everything.
whiteboard has a lot of focus.
Mhm.
Your face kind of
Everything.
has like not as much. Yeah.
Okay. My face a little blurry, or is that my skin look good?
No, no, just a little bit blurry. Just a little bit blurry.
Oh, damn. All right, cool. Let's see. Um, all right, look at your professor's camera. How much is in focus?
He's more in focus.
And what
Yeah,
about the
he's more
background?
focused.
It's a
Background kind
little
of
bit
blurry.
blurry.
Blurry, right? So that's depth of field, guys. How much is in focus? If you have a shallow, so think of depth of field like water, right? So if you have a shallow depth of field, that means only a little bit is in focus. So your professor's camera or Justin's camera right now, look at Justin's camera. Justin has a shallow depth of field. I mean, it's a filter, but it's a shallow depth of field, meaning that only a little bit is in focus. Only he's in focus, but everything else is blurred out, right? Now, if you look at mine, I have a deeper depth of field. Like you can see me, you can see the board, you can see everything. Shim Zero has a deeper depth of field. Jamad has a deeper depth of field. Like you can see the ceiling light in the back. So that's how you understand depth of field. So how much is in focus? Okay. Aperture controls how much light hits the sensor, and it controls how much is in focus. It controls our depth of field. A shallow depth of field means only a little bit is in focus. Everything else is blurred out. A deep depth of field means that more is sharp, more is in focus. We have more detail in the background. Okay? For those of you that have an iPhone, what happens when you shoot in portrait mode?
Your depth of field is
Hmm. Perfect. When you shoot in portrait mode on your iPhone, you have an extreme shallow depth of field, meaning that only the person that you're shooting is going to be sharp and in focus. The background and everything else is going to be blurry. Okay? And in order to understand that in terms of our aperture setting, the more open our eye is, the shallower the depth of field. So if we want to blur our background out, we're going to open up our aperture. If we want everything to be sharp and then in focus, we close down our aperture. Okay? Does that make sense?
Can you repeat that?
I got you. All right, so f1.2 is a wide open aperture. This is going to bring in a lot of light, but it's also going to create a shallow depth of field, meaning that the background is going to be pretty blurry. Not much is going to be sharp and in focus. Now, if we move to the right, let's say we shoot f8, f10, f11, f12, f22. Everything is going to be sharp, okay? It's going to create a deep depth of field. Does that make sense? I know it can start to get kind of confusing, but it's only two things that you have to memorize. Aperture is the eye of the lens. The more open your eye, the more light is going to come in. The more closed your eye is, the darker your shot is going to be. But when you open your eye, if you're looking to look at the example that your professor's showing, the background is blurred out. So we have a shallow depth of field. And the more we move to the right, the more we have in focus. So we have a deeper depth of field. Okay? So Justin, if I am taking graduation portraits, right? I'm taking a headshot of one of our Swan students, right? Should I choose a deep depth of field or a shallow depth of field for that portrait headshot?
Shallow.
Shallow. Why?
Because the background would be, no, I'm lying. Deep. Sorry. I'm
You
gonna
were
say
right the first time.
I was. Oh.
Mm.
I mean, it really depends,
It
honestly.
depends, yeah. It depends on it depends on what's in the background. But
Right.
what if I only want to focus on that Swan student's face? It's a portrait.
So if it's just a portrait, then shallow.
Shallow
Because
depth of
it's
field.
background, yeah.
And would that shallow depth of field be something like f1.4 or something like f8?
1.4.
Perfect. All right, so Jamad, um, I am a landscape photographer. I am taking a photo of the entire um Morgan campus. Should I use a shallow depth of field or a deep depth of field? Why?
a deep depth of field, everything would be in focus, and you'd be
Mhm.
able to capture the entire landscape, and there'll be more details involved.
Perfect.
But I have like kind of like a tertiary question to that. Uh,
Yes.
when the lens, or when you're in a deep uh depth of field, right? The
Hmm.
lens is closed or open?
Close.
Okay, all right.
So the more you close your aperture, the sharper everything is going to be. Um, I don't like using this example because it kind of makes it a little bit more confusing. But um, here's how I would put it. So, for example, everyone take your finger and put it in front of your face and squint. Squint and look at your finger, right? That means that when you look at your finger, it's nice and sharp, right? It's focused, right? Now, open your eye all the way up and try to look at everything. Everything that's around your finger. Is everything around your finger sharp or blurry? When you look at your finger and your eyes wide open, is
Blurry.
everything around blurry, right? That's not the best example, but when you squint, your finger is nice and sharp and focused. But when you open your eye up, only a little bit is sharp and focused. I don't like that example, but that's that's just what I got for right
Hey,
now.
that's a good. I just want to tap into something. I keep pulling up this image. What he's giving you is some really good information for real life scenarios. I want you to kind of just look at the image. Imagine this person is standing in front of a house, right? And the same person, what you can do is take the same picture in front of a house. Like, say a person is like, let's say 50 feet from a house or 10 feet from a house, and the person's on the street. At an f1.4, at a 1.4, the person can be in subject and the house can be out of focus. But at an f122, both the person and the house can be both in focus. Now, the closer subject or whatever you focus on will be more sharp. But that's a good way of understanding depth of field of focus. It's shallow depth of field or deep depth of field. But I keep putting it to that image. So both of these little images in the lower part of this little thumbnail, I mean, this image represents the same scenario. It's just two different f-stops making a
Mhm.
different effect from between the foreground and the background subjects.
All right, perfect. Um,
Where did I go? I'm trying to mute myself back up.
okay. And so is everyone kind of clear on aperture and how it affects lighting and depth of field? Is anyone still confused? All right, let me show you a quick example.
Controls the amount of light. The aperture of your lens controls the amount of light that gets in your camera. But more importantly, what it does is it affects the depth of field of your image, or more simply put, the amount of your image that is in focus. Here is the same image taken with different apertures, and you can see that by closing the aperture, which is the same thing as increasing the aperture number, you get more of the image in focus. The aperture of your lens controls the amount of light that gets in your camera. But more importantly, what it does is it affects the depth of field of your image, or more simply put, the amount of your image that is in focus. Here is the same image taken with different apertures, and you can see that by closing the aperture, which is the same thing as increasing the aperture number, you get more of the image in focus.
All right, does that make sense to everybody? Very simple. All right, cool. All right, so here's what we went through. Frame rate. Frame rate or frames per second controls the look and feel. You're going to decide that first. Typical frame rates are 24, 30, and 60. Faster frame rates like 120 and 240 are for slow motion. For that cinematic look and feel, 24 frames per second is your go-to. For reality TV, for documentary, for social media, you might shoot 30 frames per second. That's going to look more like reality. It's going to look more like a live event. 60 frames per second is going to be great for sports, and it can also be used for slow motion. And also social media as well. Anything faster than that is specifically for slow motion. So first thing you do when you get your camera, your DSLR, you're going to choose your frame rate. Most likely it's going to be 24 frames per second because this is a film program. So you're going to be shooting more cinematic content. Now, if you're doing an event or you're doing a documentary, you might shoot 30. If you're shooting a music video and you want a slow motion shot, you might shoot 60 and slow it down to 24. So choose your frame rate first. Then we have to understand our exposure.
Hey, before you go to the second point, guys,
Yep.
did you see the test? Did you see the quiz that I posted?
Yeah, I just opened it.
Okay, because literally he gave you the answer to the first question. If you're not paying attention, you're going to get
The
in
white
trouble.
balance?
Say again?
Or white balance?
You know what? It might have posted in reverse. Does it say white balance is the first question?
Yeah, it says explain white balance. But at the
Yeah,
very bottom,
I think I may have posted it in reverse. That may be the fifth question then. So look at the fifth question. Can you see, or you got to answer them one at a time?
Yeah. No, you don't answer. It's multiple colors. It's multiple choice. I already did the number 5 though. I was
But
just
but is number 5 the question about
FPS.
the three
Yeah.
basic FPSs? Okay, cool beans.
Yeah.
So it's in reverse. My bad. So what he just answered was number 5, guys. He just gave you the answer. And what was number 4, Kingston?
Define exposure. He was about to
Number
explain this.
3?
Yeah.
What's question
Number
number 3?
3. No, number 3 is how do you get proper exposure?
And number 4 question is what?
Define exposure.
And number 2 question is what?
Number 2 would be Professor Roberts is in fact like Tony the Tiger. He's great.
Okay, I just want to make sure that's a true or false. So you can pick up, Kyle.
All right, perfect. So next thing we have to understand once we set our frame rate is our exposure. Now, exposure is the overall lighting of your shot. A properly exposed shot is where the shadows, highlights, and midtones are nice and balanced. Okay? So in order to get the proper exposure, we have to balance out 3 different settings. And that's what we call our exposure triangle. The first setting that we just learned is aperture. Aperture is the eye of the lens. So if you're looking at your lens, the more open your eye is, the more open your aperture is, the more light you're going to bring in. The more closed your aperture is, the more closed your eye is, the less light you're going to bring in. So if you're shooting in a dark room, you most likely have to open your aperture to bring in more light. If you're shooting broad daylight, you most likely have to close your aperture down so that your shot is not as bright. We want to get the proper exposure every time we shoot. So once we set our aperture, once we get in more light, or we cut off light when we choose our aperture, we also need to think about, do I want my background to be blurred out, or do I want everything in focus? Olatunji, if I am shooting, if I am shooting 4 students walking up the Memorial Bridge, should I have a deep depth of field or a shallow depth of field? If I'm shooting 4 people walking.
Shallow.
Shallow? Who has a different opinion?
I would say deep so you could capture a little bit more.
Yes. If I have 4 people that I'm trying to get sharpened and focused, I most likely have to close my aperture down so that everything is not blurred out.
Oh, I said the wrong thing.
Oh, yep, no problem.
I'm
So
at
Yes. So a deep depth of field means that more is in focus. So we close our aperture down to get a deeper depth of field. Kingston, if I am shooting an NBA game, a Lakers game, right? And I'm trying to capture LeBron, capture a rebound, and then go all the way back down and dunk the ball on the other side of the court. Should I use a shallow depth of field or deep depth of field?
I would say I would say you use a shallow because you're trying to just focus on the one person and not the people around him.
You might, you might. Okay. You might, but you would have to be very skilled as a camera operator. Why?
Because
If
if you
you have
move
a
out the way, because you move out the
Mhm.
way from a shallow point of or shallow depth of field, move out the way of him, he'll become blurry as well.
Right. If he's running at full speed, is it going to be easy to focus on him?
No, run at full speed. No.
Right. So in that case, you might want to use a deeper depth of field so you don't have to focus as much.
Okay. So
Cool.
it would be deep depth field. So it would be like what like F12 no F12
You may be
F12
like
F
F8, F8, F10. I typically try not to go above like F12 on my aperture, unless it's super, super crazy bright outside.
okay.
Um, so yeah.
So
If
it
you
would
have
be
Go
my
ahead.
fault. Go no, keep going. I was just about to ask you another question outside of that, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm saying if you have a subject that's moving really fast and you don't want to have to mess up your focus or struggle to focus, close your aperture down to create a deeper depth of field. What were you about to ask?
Oh, it was like so if you want to balance out his exposure, you just basically look for aperture, depth field, and what was it? Frames. That would be it.
No, it's not. That's not it. That's just a part of it. So we only got through one exposure setting. So we got to get
Oh,
through the other two.
gotcha.
All right, let's see if we can knock those out real quick. But everyone is good up to this point.
Yeah.
All right, let's knock out these other two so you guys can go. While I erase this, can Aaliyah or Ananda define aperture?
It's the eye of the lens.
Eye of the lens, and what does it affect? Two
What's
things
in
that it affects.
focus? Depth of field
Depth of field and what
and
else? And the lighting.
lighting.
Perfect. All right, cool. Next thing we need to understand, shutter speed. Somebody define shutter speed.
The amount of light captured every time you like close your eyes.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
How fast or slow the shutter opens and closes.
How fast or how slow the shutter opens and closes, right? So this, look at my hands. This is an example of a shutter. Okay. My hands are shutters, right? Shutter speed is how fast or how slow my hands are clapping. Okay. Example A. So this is example A. Shutter speed number one. Shutter speed number two. Now, if light comes through my hands, right? Light in the environment comes through my hands and hits my sensor. Let's say this is the sensor and light is coming from out here, and in between is my hand. Does option A or option B, number one and number two, which one brings in more light? Go ahead, Derek.
Option one,
Why?
because you're taking longer to close your hands so the light can pass through more.
Yes. A slower shutter speed means that light has more time to come in and hit that sensor. Okay, so this is the sensor. A slower shutter speed means that more light is going to come in and hit your sensor. A faster shutter speed means that light only has a little bit of time to come in and hit that sensor. Does that make sense? Slow shutter speed versus a fast shutter speed. Going back to the eye example, which one brings in more light? Where my eye is open, close, open, close, or my eye is blinking as fast as possible. Which one brings in more light? One or two?
The slower one.
The slower one. If I open my eye, close it, open my eye, close it. Light has way more time to come in and hit my pupils. But if I'm blinking as fast as I can, light only has a little bit of time to come in and hit my pupils. That's the simplest way to understand shutter speed. Shutter speed can be a little confusing, but don't overcomplicate it. How fast or how slow your shutter opens and closes determines how much light comes in. Okay? So a slow shutter speed would be, let's say, 1 over 30. Now, shutter speed is measured in fractions. Shim0, what is aperture measured in?
What is aperture measured in?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it like fractions, like 130,
No,
160?
well, that's shutter speed.
Okay.
What is the aperture measured in?
Eyes. Like
F.
Something with
if
a stop connected
if
to it.
it's
Remember, he
closed,
used the word something stop.
Oh, f-stops or
Yes.
frame stops? Yeah.
No, f-stop. So aperture is measured in f-stops. F1.2, f2, f3, f4, f5. Now shutter speed is going to be measured in fractions. It's going to be 1 over a number. Now, you don't have to overthink that or overcomplicate that, because most of the time on certain cameras, you won't even see the letter F. And you won't see the fraction. So don't overcomplicate it. I'm just letting you know that aperture is measured in f-stops. Shutter speed is measured in fractions. 1 over a number, okay? So a slow shutter speed might be 1 over 30. And then we move up a little bit, that might be 1 over 48, 1 over 50, 1 over 60. And then a fast shutter speed might be 1 over 200, 1 over 500, 1 over 1,000. Okay? Ananda, which shutter speed brings in more light? 1 over 48 or 1 over 200? You there? Jamad, which one brings in more
I'm
light?
sorry. I was trying to
Oh,
unmute my thing.
okay,
But
go ahead.
I think it's 1 over 48.
Why?
Wait, you said more than 148 or 1 over 200?
Correct.
Well, my thinking process is it's a smaller fraction,
Mm-hmm.
so it's bringing in more versus one fraction out of 200 is very, very, very small.
I need a different term. Go ahead, Jamad.
Okay.
Which one is bringing in more light? 1 over 48 or 1 over 200?
1 over 48
Why?
because this if 1 over 48 I'm assuming is smaller,
Not smaller.
uh,
What's the
slower
word I'm looking for?
shutter
Slower.
speed.
Slower shutter speed.
Yeah.
Jamad, what define shutter speed for us?
Shutter speed is the
How
how many times the not really sure how to explain it actually.
don't worry about it. Ananda,
So I was close.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes. What is shutter speed?
Shutter speed is like how fast something goes. So like if you blink really quickly, that's like a fast shutter speed.
Yes.
Can we use that blink somewhere, please? Do the blink again. Do the blink again, Ananda, and see. Do the blink.
Yes, that's that speed.
Yes.
Them lashes. This is one term. Just keep in mind, this is one term that you actually can define, give the definition using the word speed.
Mhm.
Two words right in there. Shutter speed. The speed of the shutters opening and closing. So that you can keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. That's how it's fast. It determines is largely the definition is right in that word itself, the framing of itself.
Yes, exactly. So the wording is important, which is why I picked on both of you. It's not, don't think of it as small and large, think of it as fast and slow. When you think of aperture, think of what, Kingston? What two things? When you think of aperture, you think of blank and blank.
Shutter aperture? You think
Yes.
of both shutter speed
No, no,
and
no, 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 no,
no.
no, 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 no. Go ahead, Derek. You think of what?
Aperture and ISO.
No, no, no. All right, all right. Yeah, I'm confusing y'all. Shutter speed, think of fast, slow. Because shutter speed is how fast or how slow your shutter opens and closes, right?
Yeah.
Aperture.
Is it
Hmm?
focus and lighting?
No, I'm confusing y'all. Don't worry about it. I'm throwing y'all off. Shutter speed, fast and slow. Aperture, open, close. Okay? Does that make sense? So you open up your aperture, you close your aperture. You open up your eye, you close your eye. Shutter speed, you slow your shutter speed down or you speed it up.
So speed is how fast you open and close, while aperture is how much you is the opening and the closing of
Yep,
it. Okay, cool.
exactly. Okay.
Gotcha.
Everybody got it now? All right, cool. All right. So a slow shutter speed is something like 1 over 48, 1 over 50, 1 over 60. A slow shutter speed is going to bring in a nice amount of light. Okay. A faster shutter speed is going to be really fast and it's not going to bring in that much light. So shutter speed can be a little confusing, but I want you guys to memorize this. Well, before I say that, every exposure setting affects two things, right? What are the two things that aperture affects, Olatunji? Aperture affects what two things? The blank and blank.
Um, the amount of light and the exposure.
Yes. The amount of light and what else?
The contrast, right?
Depth. Depth of
Depth
what?
of field, depth of field,
Depth
yeah.
of field. Every exposure setting affects two things. Aperture affects the lighting, how much light comes in, and it affects depth of field. Shutter speed affects the lighting, how fast or how slow your shutter opens and closes determines the lighting, right? All three of these settings affect the lighting. But what else does shutter speed affect? Does anyone know?
Motion.
Yes, Aaliyah, motion blur. So shutter speed affects motion blur. Aperture affects depth of field. Okay. Can you define motion blur? Well, go ahead, Ananda.
I just had a question when she said that. Is it like when you seeing like a behind the scenes of like a fashion shoot, and you just hear click 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 click, and it's just like a lot of fast shots at once? Is that what this is? Basically the same thing.
Yeah, yes, but that's more so frames per second.
Okay.
That's capturing a lot of frames really fast. But if we're looking at what we're actually shooting, that's when we're going to get into motion blur. Okay. All right. So did somebody define motion blur?
What's moving in the shot, like the blurry, like
Yes.
I don't know, it's motion blur. Like,
Yes, exactly. How blurry or how sharp your motion is. Everyone look at Olatunji's camera. Look at his ceiling light, his ceiling fan. Is his ceiling blades sharp or blurry?
They're kind of blurring together.
They're blurry, right?
Uh, Not really. I see they kind of sharp. Like I can see them sealing. Like you know, like you can sometimes when something's moving so fast you can't really see it. It's like, oh my gosh, blur. But I can count. I can I can see it ceiling blades.
How many blades does he have?
What? 6.
Just 6 blades? Okay. Do you have 6 blades up there, Olatunji? It's probably 4.
Probably 5. Probably 5.
And the reason I point that out is because it's blurry. You can't count that. Because the way he's explaining it is right. It's blurry. They're blending each visuals of it. He's in. You can see him, but they're blending almost to each other. It's supposed to look like that, unless you
Yep.
change the shutter speed. You can actually see each one of those blades. It'll slow it down.
Yep. So that's motion blur. Motion blur is how sharp or how blurry your motion is. And Olatunji's ceiling fan is creating a lot of motion blur. And that's because of the shutter speed. Another example is look at my hand. So this is a fast shutter speed, right? You can see my hand every step of the way that I'm moving, right? My hands is nice and sharp, right? What happens when I do this? Is my hand blurry or sharp?
Kind of blur.
Yeah. So that's motion blur. Okay. How sharp or how blurry your motion is.
I want to jump in. It took me a while to find this. One thing to keep in mind. Let me show you this little image here. Just think about the lens, looking at it from the side, right? This is a side view. What he's talking about is this sensor. You see where it says image sensor, right? Now you got it. Some of this is slightly different for mirrorless camera, but the shutter speed is in front of that, right? Then you got the aperture in front of that, opening and close before the light hits the lens. So when you're talking about the shutter speed, that's in front of the sensor directly, and then in front of the shutter speed is this ring that's like the aperture that he talks about. So just keep that in mind when he's speaking, because I'm looking at the lens from the side. If you kind of understand what I'm showing you, you're looking at the lens from the side angle and what happens before from the light hitting before the light actually translates that image or reflects that image to the actual sensor. You can keep going, Kyle.
All right, perfect. All right, so a slow shutter speed is going to have more motion blur. So 1 over 48 is going to have more motion blur than 1 over 200 or 1 over 500, 1 over 1,000. Okay. So the slower the shutter speed, the more motion blur. Okay. Going back to the flip book example. Going back to the flip book example. So let's say so look at your shutter speed like a flip book, right? And the number at the bottom is how many pages we have. So if I am drawing a person running and dribbling a basketball in my flip book, and I only have 48 pages, how would that look versus a flip book that has 1,000 pages? So on each page, I'm drawing somebody dribbling a basketball and running. And on the first example, I have 48 pages, and on the second example, I have 1,000 pages. How would the one with 48 pages look? How would that motion look? Did I stump you all with the example?
It would look quick.
Oh, the one over 48 pages?
Yeah. You talking about
Oh,
if you had a flip book and you just
Yeah.
It will look quicker than a one with
Yeah.
2,000 pages.
Okay, I got your thinking. So that was a bad example. So if I only have 48 pages in my flip book, that means that I can only capture so much motion, right? So at one point, let's say this is the basketball. At one point, the basketball's here. On the next page, the basketball's here. Next page, the basketball's here. Next page, the basketball is on the floor, right? It's going to be choppy. So on page one, I'm here. Page two, I'm down here. Page three, I'm here. I can only draw but so much in order to capture the full motion because I only have 48 pages. If I have 1,000 pages, that means on page one, the basketball's here. On page two, the basketball's slightly lower. Page three, the basketball is here. Page four, does that make sense? So, which one has smoother motion of the basketball bouncing up and down? Page 1/48 or 1/1,000,
Probably 1,000. No.
right? Because we're capturing more motion. Okay, does that make sense? All right, cool. That example wasn't the best, but let me. Jamal, you had you raised your hand.
Uh, what's the like standard shutter speed?
One more time, you sounded a little bit muffled.
Industry standard for shutter speed. Like when you boot up a camera for most projects, what do you expect to shoot in?
So what's the standard? Okay. All right, cool. All right, guys. So here. Let me give you the shortcut. Okay. So when you're doing video specifically, this is for video only. Here's a shortcut. You take your frame rate and you double it. And that's going to give you a nice shutter speed to start with. You take your frame rate that you're shooting your video with and you double it ×2. And that's going to give you a great shutter speed to start with. Okay? That's the shortcut. Can you guys memorize that?
All right, can you say that again? The formula?
The formula for getting a shutter speed. This is not a hard rule, but this is a shortcut. And that's is what I typically use all the time. The shortcut is take your frame rate and double it. Felicia, if I am shooting a cinematic short film, what's a good frame rate to start to choose? What frame rate should I use? You there, Felicia? Justin, you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm sorry. Can you say it again?
If I am shooting a cinematic short film, what is a good frame rate to use?
24.
24. 24 frames per second is going to give you that cinematic look and feel. Now, if I am shooting a film at 24 frames per second, what's a good shutter speed to start with?
48.
48, 1/48. That's the shortcut.
Oh.
Now you see why that's another reason why you choose your frame rate first. As soon as you pick up your camera. As soon as you pick up your camera and you're shooting video, decide what frame rate you're shooting. Am I shooting a short film? Am I shooting a documentary? Am I shooting reality TV? Am I doing an event? Am I shooting for slow motion? Am I shooting a music video? Choose your frame rate. And a shortcut way into choosing your shutter speed is to say, take your frame rate and double it. So if I'm shooting 24, a good frame rate, a good shutter speed to start with, 48 or 1/48. What if I'm shooting a documentary at 30 frames per second? Kingston, what's a good shutter speed if I'm shooting a documentary at 30 frames per second?
You should do 60, right?
1/60.
Okay.
Very easy, guys. It's the motion blur is going to look good when you choose that setting in that frame rate. That's just a shortcut. So I just need you guys to memorize that. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't overthink it. Okay. If I am shooting LeBron James dunking on the Phantom Cam, and I am shooting at a frame rate of 1,000 frames per second, Derek, what's a good shutter speed to start with?
2000?
2,000, 1/2000. Okay. Double your frame rate, and you'll get a nice shutter speed to start with. Really quickly, let me show you an example of shutter speed, and then we're going to move on to the last one. Call it a day. All right, shutter speed, shutter speed, shutter speed. All right, check out the different shutter speeds. 1/60, look at the motion. 1/160, look at the motion. 1/1300, look at the motion. Which one has the most motion blur? Which one? Anyone?
160?
1/60 or 60. You can just say the bottom number, 60. 60, 60 has the most motion blur. Look at the motion of the blade. Can we see it? No, it's completely blurry. But what if we speed our shutter speed up all the way to 1300? We start to really see that motion. Okay? Does that make sense for everybody?
Say that one more time. My computer died. My bad.
Okay. So shutter speed is how fast or how slow your shutter opens and closes, and that affects how much light is going to come in and hit that sensor. It also affects motion blur, which is how much how sharp or how blurry your motion is. So a slow shutter speed, like 1/60 or 60, is going to have more motion blur. Look at the example. The blade is completely blurred out. The more we speed up our shutter speed, the less motion blur we have. Look at 1/1300. We can really see the motion a lot more. And our shortcut for choosing a shutter speed when we're operating a camera is double the frame rate. So if we're shooting 24 frames per second, a good shutter speed is 1/48. If we're shooting 30 frames per second, a good shutter speed to start with is 1/60. If we're shooting slow motion 120, a good shutter speed to start with is 240. Okay? Jamad, you have a question?
Yeah, so you said a good shutter speed to start with. So like what if you like aren't using a shutter speed that is directly double the frame rate that you're shooting in?
You'll be okay. You'll be okay, but you have to look at your motion blur and you have to look at your lighting.
But like what what for what reason would a filmmaker break that rule? Like what look is that supposed to be? What are you supposed to be going for when you shoot out of sequence like that?
Okay, so what you're asking is what is an example where we're not going to go with the typical shutter speed, double the frame rate? It depends on the motion, right? Maybe you want to see, maybe you don't want to have as much motion blur. If we want to take away some of the motion blur, should we slow down or speed up our shutter speed? Speed it up. So that's an example. If you're shooting sports, you might want to speed up your shutter speed a little bit. But you also got to think about frame rate as well, because frame rate affects your motion, how your motion looks as well. Dave, were you about to say something?
Jamad has a great question. You've been asking a lot of great questions, Jamad. That question also has a two-part aspect to it. One is when you intentionally doing something. So Kyle just answered when it's intentional. Like if you intention, your goal is to do something, you want to control the sharpness of an image. However, sometimes it is often out of necessity or out of a mistake, your shutter speed will change. For example, if you're shooting outside with an iPhone and you don't have what's called an ND filter, a neutral density filter, it's really bright, your shutter speed is going to compensate to get the proper exposure, and it's going to make it a faster shutter speed to decrease the light. So understanding this is a lot of to do with intentional. Like the question that you asked really has two parts to it. One is when the filmmaker is doing it, but second times it often happens as if you're on automatic or if you're trying to compensate. If you're in a situation like, hey, I'm outside shooting manual and I don't have what's called an ND filter with the camera that you're shooting with, like you want to shoot with a DSLR, I don't have an ND filter on my lens. An ND filter, I like to think, is called neutral density. Just think of it as like wearing sunglasses when you're outside in a bright sun day. When you have a sunlight on, I want a shallow depth of field, but I can't achieve that shallow depth of field at the proper shutter speed at 1/48. I would have to have a faster shutter speed. So in that case, it gets a little tricky, but the answer is two parts. One is when it's intentional for an intentional goal. Second is when it's compensating or trying to fix something for exposure. And we'll have a physical camera to practice some of this next week, or a few cameras.
Yep. All right, let's do the last exposure setting, and then we'll review everything next week and actually see how these settings work in real time on the camera. So let's just go over really quickly ISO. Who can tell me what ISO is?
This is like to help with the white balance to make sure
Not
it's
white balance.
real,
Not white balance.
uh, real bright and or gritty, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, you're in the ballpark. Anybody else?
Artificial light.
Artificial light. That's my nickname for it. Okay, cool. Anybody else? All right, cool. So ISO, my nickname for it is artificial light, but the real definition is ISO is your camera's sensitivity to light. So when you increase or boost your ISO, you increase your camera's sensitivity to light. What does sensitive mean? Sensitive means that you're more vulnerable, right? You're impacted more, you're affected more. So if you become more sensitive to light, what do people that are sensitive to light have to do? They have to wear what?
Squint.
Squint or wear glasses or
Squint or wear
sunglasses.
glasses, right? Okay. So when we boost our ISO, we increase the camera's sensitivity to light. So that means that our shot is going to get brighter or darker. Which one? We become more sensitive to the light in the environment. Does that make our shot darker or brighter?
Brighter.
Brighter. The more sensitive you are to light, the brighter the lights look to you, right? So if I'm in this room and this is how the lighting looks now, but I boost my ISO, I'm going to become more sensitive to the light that's above me, and the whole shot is going to get brighter. So aperture, we open and close. Shutter speed, we slow down and speed up. ISO, we boost and turn down. Okay. So an example of a low ISO is 100. Most cameras start at around 50 or 100 ISO. That's typically the lowest ISO setting that we can use. And ISO is measured in hundreds, typically. Some you might have like 50, 100, 150, 200. So if ISO is the lowest, on some cameras, we can go all the way up to 12,500. Okay? So 100 is one, and 200, so on and so forth. The bigger the number, the more sensitive your camera is going to be to light. So the more we boost our ISO, the brighter our shot is going to be. Okay? That's why I call it artificial light. It's an easy way to think about it. So if our shot is too dark, we're in a dark room, and we need more light, we can easily just boost our ISO and our shot is going to be brighter. Now, go ahead, Justin.
So, is there like a specific order in which as far as like I know frame rate obviously goes first and then exposure.
Yes.
But as far as the triangle, is there a specific order in which we do these settings?
Yep. Thank you for asking that. I'm gonna bring that home in 1 second. So let's just knock this out real quick. So ISO is our camera's sensitivity to light or artificial light. The lower the ISO, the less light. The more you boost your ISO, the more light. Okay. ISO affects the lighting of your shot, just like all the other two settings. All of these settings affect your exposure. What else does ISO affect? That's what Derek was saying. ISO affects the lighting and it affects what else?
Like the clarity as far as like I heard him
Yes.
say grain or something. Yeah.
Yes. When you boost your ISO, you typically introduce noise and grain. Not like sound noise, but like digital noise. Okay? So if you ever try to take a picture in a dark room, the quality looks bad, right? Not just because it's dark, but it's because your camera is boosting the ISO in order to make the shot brighter. But the more you boost your ISO, the more noise and grain is introduced into your shot. Okay? So the more we boost our ISO, the more noise and grain, digital noise and grain on our shot we're gonna have. Right? And does that look good or bad when we have a lot of noise and digital grain on our shot? Does that look good or bad? Bad, right? You can almost say that it lowers the quality of your shot, right? So this is actually the number one problem I see with beginner videographers and photographers. They don't understand that they have to balance all three exposure settings. And what they end up doing is they have an ISO of 12,000 when really they need to fix their shutter speed and they need to fix their aperture and then use their ISO as a last resort. Okay? And the reason why the ISO is the last resort, my policy, is because the more you boost your ISO, the more noise and grain you're going to introduce into your shot. Now, the better the camera that you have, the more it can handle high ISO. So the more expensive a camera is, you could probably shoot at 1,000 ISO and it looks perfectly fine. But the cheaper cameras, when you start to boost that ISO, the quality is going to go way down. Okay? So ISO affects the lighting and it also affects the noise and grain of your image. Okay? So my policy when it comes to ISO is that it's your last resort. You want to keep that low. So in order to wrap this up, I think Justin asked the question. So what's the order? How do we balance these things out, right? So in order to finish this up, okay. Ananda, what are the three settings that create our exposure triangle?
Is it highlights, shadows, and midtones?
The three exposure settings.
Aperture, iOS, and shutter speed?
Yes. Aperture. These are the three settings that we learned today, right? Aperture, ISO, shutter speed. These are the three settings in our exposure triangle that we have to balance in order to get the proper lighting, right? All right, everybody pay attention because this pretty much sums it up. Jamad, what's the first thing I do when I pick up my camera and I'm shooting video? Can you hear me? First thing I do,
Um,
choose what?
the aperture.
Okay. Anybody else? What do
Frame
we have?
rate.
Frame rate.
Ah,
This is before we get to exposure. That was the trick questions. Before we get to exposure, we have to choose our frame rate. I was just saying if you remember. All right, so choose our frame rate, and then we start to balance these three. Okay? So Justin was asking, what's the order? What's a good order to start with? So the reason why I asked, what's the first thing we do when we shoot video is we choose our frame rate because that's going to give us a clue to one of these settings. All right. So typically, here's what I'll do. I could do either one of two things. First thing I'll do is I'll ask myself, what's my frame rate? When we know our frame rate, which of these settings do we kind of have an idea of where we should start?
Shutter speed.
Shutter speed.
Shutter speed, very good. And if I am shooting a short film at 24 frames per second, what's a good shutter speed to start with?
48.
48.
48 or 1 over 48.
1 over.
So I set my frame rate, and because I set my frame rate, I already know a good shutter speed to start with, which will be double my frame rate. And then I can adjust it later from there. So this is the order. Number one, shutter speed. What else do I know off the bat? I know my shutter speed off the bat. What else?
Like the depth of fields that you want.
Okay, kind of, yes. What I have a policy that I gave you guys. What's that policy?
Um, isn't it like the ISO's last?
Yes. So I want my ISO to start off as low as possible. Why?
Because you don't want to add too much sensitivity and then have to change something else.
Exactly. So off the bat, I know I know a good shutter speed to start with because that's just double my frame rate. Also, I know I want to have a low ISO because it's my last resort. I don't want to have to boost that until the very end. Okay? So number one, choose your shutter speed. Number two, make sure that ISO is as low as possible. Now, what if I set my shutter speed and I set my ISO to 100 or the lowest number possible, and my shot is still too dark? What can I do?
And raise the aperture
Raise it or what? What's the term that
or
we
wide,
uh,
open it up.
you open it up? If your shot is too dark, once you set your shutter speed and you set your ISO, you can open your aperture or you can close it. You can open or close your aperture. So we set our frame rate, we set our shutter speed, we set our ISO to as low as possible. Now we set our aperture. And what if I open my aperture all the way open, let's say f1.2 or f1.8, and it's still too dark? What can I do?
Go
Raise
back
the
to
ISO.
ISO.
Then we go back to our ISO because it's our last resort, right? This is the balancing act, okay? And typically when I'm doing video, I typically leave my shutter speed around the same spot. Now, what if I open my aperture all the way open, but now I have a super shallow depth of field, and I don't want that. I'm shooting a landscape. I'm trying to capture a whole building. What can I do? I don't want a shallow depth of field anymore. I need everything sharp. So what can I do?
You can
Raise your aperture.
Not raise it,
you can close it.
close. So I'll close my aperture, and now I have more in focus. But now my shot is underexposed. What can I do now?
Raise your
Uh,
ISO.
Raise your ISO, boost your ISO. Okay, so that's it. So that's how you balance all three of these settings. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody?
Why did you say or make a point to say that you, when you're shooting video, you typically keep your shutter speed the exact same?
Because shutter speed is how fast or how slow your shutter opens and closes, and it affects the motion blur. So the look of motion that we get when we double our frame rate is like a standard. It creates a particular look and feel that we're used to seeing. So it's like it's like a standard that we use for video. Double your frame rate is going to give you ideally a nice looking motion blur. And I might change that later, like we said before, depending on how sharp I want my motion, or maybe our shot is still too bright and we don't want to close our aperture down more. We can speed up our shutter speed, but typically I'll use my aperture as my main workhorse in terms of lighting. And we gotta look at a camera and a lens in order to understand this even more in depth. And we'll go over white balance as well. But FYI, white balance is color temperature. We'll dive into that more deeper next week.
So
But that's
in,
it.
in terms of, so you keep the shutter speed mostly the same depending on if you have the right shot, and then you
Yes.
adjust the aperture first, and then you course correct with ISO.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Pretty much. I keep my ISO low, and then I'll let my aperture do the work for me. But I have to understand depth of field when it comes to aperture.
Gotcha. Okay.
And once you actually put your hands on the camera, you'll be able to see how all three of these really work together in real time. All right, that's it.
Kyle, thank you so much. Now, I've realized that, like I said, this class has been co-listed, and well, a lot of my classes are co-listed. I realized that this was one of them. So there were 3 students that I didn't send this particular link to that were
Oh my
co-listed
God.
in another one. So
Oh Lord.
I was sending out stuff, and then I said, oh damn, that was co-listed. So there are 3 students that you may meet next week that
Mhm.
don't know. But the good thing about it is I recorded this, and what I'm gonna do is send it to them and let them watch it in preparation. Okay. So
Okay.
you'll see those 3 students, Morgan, Andrea, and Ferdinando. So Andrea and Fernando. Those 3 students were logged in. Because I was like, well, why are they missing? And that's why they're missing. They were co-listed. So that was on me. Okay, so just know that for next week. All right, guys. Take your notes for now, because I'm gonna let you guys wrap it up. But I do want to thank Kyle. Everybody, give him a clap. Give him a clap. Give him a clap. Give him a clap. Give him that clap thing. Give him that clap thing. But just take it for now, and then we'll pick up next week. Okay, guys.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you
All
so
right, guys.
much.
Okay.
All right,
Thank
guys.
you.
Take your notes. Just write down any questions that you may have. Okay.
I,
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right. Be
I
safe,
actually,
just have
guys.
one question
I
to
have a
Kyle.
question.
Yeah, I have a question as well. Derek.
If you got to get it in, if Kyle's gonna be able to wait and walk it out, but I would say if you can hold your question, ask your question, or just ask me your question, see if I can answer it. What's your question?
My question is about the test.
Okay,
There's
yes.
There's a question that just says FPS equals frame per second, and then list out different frames per second. Do you want me to just
You know
choose
what? I
them?
wasn't sure how that worked out. I was trying to do fill in the blank, but I think I put the answer in there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
do you
just
want me
check
to
the
just yeah.
check all of them that apply if you
Okay,
can.
cool.
Can you do that?
Yeah.
Okay, check all that apply. And what would be the correct answer in that case?
24, 30, and 60.
There you go. That's the answer.
I have a quick question
Mhm.
regarding the assignment. When I know you said you open it back up again, so when will that be due? Because I want to fix mine.
Okay, Justin. I want it still due to be same. The only people that's getting extension, anybody that didn't, like yourself, might get an extension. Well, penalty. So, what does the date say? The date show up is until next week, right?
Because I know, was it due last week?
Yeah.
I submitted it, but I want to change it.
I think I understand what you're saying. To answer your question is you can submit it according to the new deliverable date without getting it penalized because it'll
Okay.
show me that you have already submitted it on time.
Okay,
But you
so
just
I'll
check to
check
see
it.
when that new delivery date is.
Okay, let me check it real quick before.
Okay, cool, babes. What's your question, Jamal?
So, I work what was it? MR1 Studios. I wanted to follow the
Come
social
in.
media to see it. So,
Say it again, Jamal. I could.
do you know the studio's name where Kyle works?
You got to ask him that. I can't remember that.
Uh,
I
and
forgot.
also, that's fine. I will do that. And also, I think I missed the class where the assignment was assigned. So I thought it was a project, and so I didn't submit it. I thought like it
Okay.
was like a collaborative thing. It's not. It's like
Nope.
everybody else's. Okay, so when you open up the assignment, it says that the students were put into groups in the classroom. So like, what were they discussing in group?
Let me
Like
look at
that's what confused me.
I
So
think it was
okay,
more of the
it
setup
says
that we
story
were
idea.
doing that day.
I'm sorry, what you said? I didn't hear you.
I said I think that was more of like the tripod setup we were doing that day.
Nah, I was there for that class. It says story idea today, comma, you'll break into smaller groups and discuss possible story ideas. Y'all didn't do that?
so basically what they did was they just worked, people just kind of discussed their ideas and then
Mhm.
each person summarized their own idea. So like
Okay.
I just let you work in groups to kind of bounce off ideas. Say, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm thinking, or whatever.
Um,
And then that person just said, all right, cool, this is a good idea. Have you considered that? The main takeaway was that you develop an idea that can be something that can be done within your
okay.
resources. Okay.
Okay, understood. And so the just one last
Yeah,
question about
it's
like the formatting of this assignment. Is it supposed to be like a treatment?
not yet. That was coming next.
Okay.
Good
All right.
point. But
All right.
if you went on and did it, I ain't gonna hate on you. It's
Yeah,
literally
that
just a summary
like
and builds
what
to
I
the
was
treatment.
doing,
That was coming next.
I've been working on it this entire class. As soon as
Okay.
you opened it up, and I've been like I formatted it like a treatment. Should I not do that? Should I
No,
wait?
if you do it
Okay.
because
All right.
that's going to put you hit. Literally, I didn't get a chance to talk about it. That was going to be the next thing we want to apply that to
Okay.
the treatment. But that's
All right.
good. That's really good. You got it. So that's going to put you ahead of the game. Okay.
All right. All right. I'll see
Good
you
job,
next week.
Jamal.
Thank you.
All right, brother.
The
Good job, family.
assignment it still says it's due. It was due last week. I don't see nothing.
Let me see. I thought I
Story
extended
idea
it.
said it was due the 16th of February.
It may still be due. But it's available. You can still submit though.
Yes, I can still submit. I can.
Yes.
It says new
I'm not
attempt.
changing the due date.
Okay.
But all I did was open it up to be able to submit.
Okay. So when do you want it by though? Because I don't want to take for like. When do you want the new upload by?
But as soon as you can get it, whenever you get
Okay.
it, I'm gonna still see it. Whenever it comes
Okay.
up, it pops up, it populates in my
I
system.
just don't want to put it submitted too late, and I don't want a penalty. That's why. So
Yeah,
that's why. Like you say next class, that's fine. If you say Friday, that means whatever.
Okay, Friday then.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at that, making sure. Yeah, it was available. Okay. Yeah, the due date
Okay.
is still the same. I just opened it up to where you can still submit it. I was
Okay.
confused for a second. I thought I did open it up. Yeah,
No, no, you did. You did.
I don't change the due date because if I change the due date, that makes it available for everybody to get the same due date. And what happens is people that submitted it on time, it's not fair for those who submitted on time versus who didn't submit it on time. So if
Got
you
you.
like in your particular case, you're just making changes to yours. You
Right.
made the submission time, but you're just making changes to your actual
Got you.
submission.
Okay, cool. No problem.
Okay. All
Appreciate
right.
it.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
You're welcome. All right.
Oh, wait, I actually have another question.
What is it?
And I'm glad I'm actually here with you by myself. I know we've only been had a couple classes by myself. This is my first semester meeting you, but I do have a possible ask of you.
Okay.
Student Region is doing applications for next semester, and I was interested in applying, and I need two letters of recommendation. And I know we haven't really known each other that long, but I really do feel that I do believe that you'll be somebody that, based on our interaction so far, that